Welcome to Corrections Mama 27 channel. So we're going to talk about what is ingress and egress and what does it mean. It plays a big part in the Department of Corrections. And we need to know what that is because I'm going to make a lot of videos that talk about ingress and egress situations. So ingress means the right to enter and egress means the right to exit. So this is how it works in the security situation. So basically, if you're going to, say I'm in an area like traffic control. Well, a lieutenant or sergeant might be entering the traffic control and he's going to show me an ID. Sometimes these IDs are fake. These IDs have like a weird name or it's not their picture and there's discrepancies in the ID and they expect you to find those discrepancies and you're not supposed to let them enter. They don't have a right to enter when they don't have proper identification. They could also do an ingress when they're coming into the lobby and they give you an ID for to get equipment. They could be showing you their ID to get into a certain security area. If they don't show their ID, they don't have the right to enter. Some people are lazy and just don't want to show their IDs. And then when you ask them for it, you're simply following policy. Especially supervisors, they want like VIP treatment. But then it's a trick bag because these officers and supervisors, they're the ones that are going to write you up, 601 you, and turn you in for not checking their ID before they come in. Of course, you know who they are. They know who you are, but you still have to ask for their ID. And if you don't do that, a lot of times people do it and get away with it. But my experience was when I didn't, especially with supervisors, they weren't my friends. They're probably just going to write me up and I'm going to be under investigation for not checking the ID. The flip side of that is they're going to be mad that you checked their ID. Well, what the hey? Like, that's a no-win situation. And they used to do that to me all the time. So I used to give them what I call VIP treatment. VIP treatment means that you follow policy to the T, especially when it's a supervisor. Because they're not there to be your friend, okay? Now, you might be friends with some of the supervisors, and maybe some of them are cool and aren't going to give you a hard time. But you never know when their attitude changes. You never know when somebody is watching the camera or somebody is doing a test on you or whatever. So I always treated supervisors with VIP treatment. I always followed the policy to the T, and it inconvenienced them a lot, and they used to get ticked off. Well, guess what? I don't care because they ain't going to get the time off. I am. So I do it the way you're supposed to do it all the time. Anyway, so an egress is when they're exiting. There's certain policies and procedures you follow for exiting. Usually it has to do like traffic control or different things like that, or getting a weapon or whatever. You have to show your ID so they can say you can come or you can go, I guess. You know, traffic control, you have to have proper ID, stuff like that, and answer certain questions or let them look at search your car and stuff like that. So there's certain criteria for certain posts for entering and exiting. And so the ingress egress is generally a policy that you have to follow when people enter or exit your security post area, including inmates. When inmates leave a building, they have to show your ID. When they're going to work, they have to show you their ID so you can mark them on the worksheet that they're out. Some people use the count sheet. Oftentimes, I would use the count sheet. If you can't write on it at the time, maybe you could put a little dot or a little X or a check mark or whatever that you can identify that they're out. So that is what egress means, and it's in a whole bunch of very different variables. Like, there's so many different ingress egresses, everywhere you go is an ingress, egress, honestly. And I always tried to make sure that I knew the inmate, where the inmates were when they left. So when I did count, I checked the IDs. I wrote it down on my clipboard on the, oftentimes they have work crews. I've got 10 kitchen workers. Each kitchen worker's name is on that list. I would check them in or check them out. And then I would document it also during count on the count sheet. When they come in, you usually don't check their IDs. But there's a lot of different variables and situations like that. Say they're in the chow hall. They're coming into the chow hall to get some food. You're going to check their ID, and we used a count sheet to mark them off that they came in for a tray. So a lot of times the inmates will just try to walk by you or just flash it to you. Some officers would just X, X, X and not even know who they're really Xing in or out. They would do it randomly, X on the count sheet, because they're trying to count how many trays they are. I didn't like to let inmates rush me. They'll just like do this and move on. I would say, let me see, hang on, let me read it, and mark off the right inmate that was actually there. So that's another ingress, egress, I guess. In all security posts, you have to show your ID generally. So if it's a control room, if it's a main control, unless it's in the sally port, certain sally ports you don't have to, but like sally port with a vehicle, you have to show your ID and identify yourself, because they have to document who's coming and going. So that's what ingress, egress means. So when you hear me mention it in other videos, you'll be the smart one that knows what it actually means. Please like, share, subscribe, make your comments, and ask questions so I can make videos on content you're interested in.